Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the My Football Writer YouTube channel. A happy Easter to you all. I hope that your Good Friday was good and it wasn't impacted by something that went down at Carrow Road that was not very good at all. It ended Norwich City 3, Portsmouth 5, a truly bizarre scoreline. You don't see it very often, but don't let the scoreline fool you. Norwich were absolutely awful. Really a low point under Johannes Torup this match, and a lot of questions beginning to be asked, and very big questions such as, is he still the right man to take this team forward? And when you look at the statistics, recent form especially, 2 wins now in 14 matches, that is awful. For a team who have got a 3-year plan, an aspiration to be a Premier League side, that form is not good enough. It really isn't. It now means that Norwich cannot mathematically be promoted or relegated. So make of that what you will. It's another year of Championship football, but we all knew that already. But going back onto the performance, I'd like to talk about Portsmouth first, because the last time I did a match reaction when Norwich lost to Sheffield Wednesday, a video like this, I didn't really sort of touch on the opposition as such. So you have to give so much credit to John Mousinho and his players. They were tactically brilliant. They were set up very, very well. They executed their game plan to a T. They absolutely killed Norwich in wide areas. But when you look at that, well, that exact point of the wider areas where Portsmouth, they were given all the room in the world to deliver crosses and test the Norwich defence with aerial, well, exactly that, aerial tests for them. How would they deal with constant wide balls being put into their penalty area and defend them effectively? But I think they really took advantage of Norwich's lack of a natural left back, having Kenny McLean put there. He had barely any support behind him, did McLean, and that allowed Josh Murphy to haunt his former side. Arguably, if it weren't for a Colby Bishop hat-trick, he would have been man of the match. Josh Murphy absolutely tore Norwich apart on the left flank. He was just... It was exactly what you want of any natural winger. Got his head down, beat his fullback, delivered crosses into the area to create opportunities. And Norwich defensively, we've spoken about this on the channel before. Any Norwich fan who has witnessed anything this season has spoken about it. Norwich are so fragile defensively. It is comical how bad they can be defensively sometimes. Half of the goals conceded, so poor, really poor. Bishop's first is dreadful defending. There's so much time for the winger to put the cross into the box. Bishop is completely free from 8 yards out to head an effort goalwards. Long tries his hardest, but he can't keep it out. And George Long now, 9 championship matches this season he started. Norwich have conceded 24 goals with him in goal. That is not to say George Long is the culprit of a 5-3 loss and he should be blamed and it's completely his fault. But, and again, he can't control the fact that the first choice keeper in Angus Gunn, his partner, is expecting a child. No one can control that. So it's perhaps reasonable that Long was given the start, but you look at the statistics, I think he's got about a 50% save percentage. I think it was 58.3 before the game started. It's going to be lower now because of obviously conceding 5 goals. He's barely saving the shots that were coming toward him. But if this was an away performance, you would perhaps maybe expect it from Norwich, the way in which they were playing. But at a home crowd where they, sort of, well, not long ago, back in November, Norwich had just gone a year unbeaten at home. We flash forward to April, they're losing 5-3 to a side who are still in a relegation fight. It's truly bizarre. But again, I'll just go back to what I made of the Portsmouth performance. Again, brilliant. They were playing like a team who had nothing to lose, and they didn't, because they ultimately they are they're higher up the table than their relegation counterparts for a reason, because they're capable of getting results like this. They beat Leeds at Fratton Park, but to go away from home and stick 5 past what some fans call one of the better sides in this division in Norwich. I mean, well, not really that some fans call them, but one of the sides who you associate with a very free-flowing goal-scoring side. Norwich are the second top scorers in the division. They somehow managed to score 3 goals out of absolutely nothing, really. The first goal is just, the first effort is blocked on the line and Sargent pops up and slams it in. He's now only 2 goals off Borja Sainz as the top scorer in the Championship, which is absurd, really. Without Sargent, where would Norwich be? Where would they be? And then the second goal for Stacey, really well taken goal, in all fairness. He controlled the ball neatly and kept the composure to slot it in the top corner. The third goal is a weird one, from a Marcondes header that loops over everyone. So Norwich scored 2 set pieces. They've scored 3 of their last 4 goals have been from set pieces. But no, that's really about as good as it gets with the performance that the players put in. And I don't really think anyone can come out with it with any credit. No player, no real member of the coaching staff can come out of that with a bit of praise, which, there's been a lot of words said over Torup, and people's opinions are very much now becoming more and more negative as performances go on. Again, it's perfectly fair to give the criticism. Norwich have just completely rolled over and let their bellies be tickled by a Portsmouth team fighting for their lives. Just, again, that scoreline does not suggest in the slightest how one-sided this game was. Portsmouth were flying, the better team in every department. They were set up in a stronger fashion. They executed their game plan in a much stronger fashion. They were relentless. They did exactly what a side fighting for their lives had to do. They dug in and they just gave it everything they could. And credit to them, in front of a big away following as well. That's I'm sure maybe that was a factor given in by Mousinho and his coaching staff of, look, nearly 2,000 fans have travelled from Portsmouth to Norwich to watch you lot. Put on a show for them, give them something to be proud of, and boy, did they do it. But as for the Norwich fans in Carrow Road, plenty of boos at nearly every goal conceded, at half-time, at full-time. Again, it's perfectly fair for that, because the manner of the performance was so bad. Just really, I'm running out of the words to describe how bad it truly was. And it's just embarrassing. It was embarrassing, ultimately, from a Norwich standpoint. It was ultimately pathetic. You can put any negative word or any word with a negative connotation and use it to describe the Norwich performance, and you'd probably be bang on. But you then go on to some of the points made by Torup in his press conference, and with the benefit of hindsight and how the game went, it's some of his comments, that they make fair sense. One of his main comments was, over the next 3 remaining matches, his team selection is going to change. It's going to be players who he believes and that he can see genuinely want to be here, and who are playing football for the sake of trying to get something good going in the final few matches. Because as I said earlier, 2 wins in 14. That is relegation form, what Norwich are on. And some of the players today were, they can be held accountable for just not trying. Some of them just really looked like they weren't interested. The back line at times looked like, they ultimately know that the season isn't going to go anywhere, but that is no excuse. I said it on one of the most recent podcasts we did. I want to see Norwich try in their remaining matches. Just give it effort to show that you still are trying to do something for the fans who pay to come and watch you, and who are there to get you through hard games like this and maybe be that extra little bit of motivation and reason as to why you go on and maybe you sneak a point when you're trailing in a game, or in a tight match that's level, you end up winning it because you had that extra bit of support. Just, they weren't trying. They, even against Burnley, well, the first half against Burnley, Norwich seem like they've given up. They have ultimately given up, and I'm just stumbling on words because I don't know what to say. It's so fickle. It's really fickle from the players who just they. I mean, Connor Southwell put it perfectly in one of his live blog tweets for the match. Forget Norwich players being on the beach; they're on the moon. I think that perfectly sums it up. There is the mindset of the players is so bad. It's bad. To not try is comical. You are a footballer. You are paid to play a game you are really good at. You're good at it. That's why you play at a championship level, but you don't try. It's just not good enough. And then another few of Torup's comments there about of who he wants to play, and he wants players that will generally look like they try. But then you look at the starting 11s as of late, they've all been the same. It's the same culprits week in, week out. It's the same back line. Yes, that is probably down to Norwich have got so many injuries at the moment. That probably is a big factor. They've got a lot of injuries, and they're only just about getting players back, like Callum Doyle, who ended up coming on today for, I believe it was the last half an hour. But still, you can talk. You can always talk a good talk as a manager and say that things went wrong and you're not happy with the performance. He said in his press conference he's sorry. He apologised for the performance rather than say it was embarrassing. He said that was the wrong word for him to describe it as. But it's all well and good saying these things, which Torup all season, credit to him, he talks a really good talk. He's always, he never pulls his punches, right? Then he is a very honest man who will say it exactly how it is and what went wrong and what he wants to see. Even he said himself that, in the 6 months he's been here, he can talk about what Norwich have been good at, but there is ultimately no excuse for losing a game in this manner and a performance of that manner. So again, you can have all that and him say these things, but the big thing for Norwich fans, especially as of since the start of 2025, the big thing for Norwich fans has been they're not seeing progression in these performances. They're not ultimately seeing this team get better. They're not seeing the signs of what could be good, and if they are to bring in newer players who are good in this system, Norwich will be extremely effective and they'll be one of the most competitive sides in the division. Because I will go back to the form. It's 2 wins in 14, and Norwich in majority of those matches, they haven't really shown much progression. That they have stagnated quite a bit since the start of the year, which is such a shame because we know the talent this Norwich side possesses. Sargent, Sainz, even you can argue Nunez, Marcondes as well. Kenny McLean, who has been a relatively good performer at championship level for a few years. Even Angus Gunn, you could argue, is a decent player and talented for the level. Callum Doyle as well. Jacob Wright, even as of late. There is so much potential in this Norwich team, albeit, as I've just mentioned, Doyle, he probably won't be here next season. Angus Gunn looks like he won't be here next season. But the potential in this side and the actual talent they've got now is ridiculous. That there's so much talent, yet it just feels like it's being wasted at the minute. And I said it in the most recent video we did about, is the Johannes Torup project going to pay off? Norwich, over this summer, they need players who are good now. They need it. And a performance like that shows it. Again, no one taking the game by the scruff of the neck. No one showing a bit of sense of leadership, or just to go to their teammates and say, look, just try now. get a positive end. Just try and restore a bit of pride. Yes, Norwich did go on when they were 4-1 down. They went and scored 2 more, and it's only a 2-goal deficit at 5-3, but still, just you can barely give any positives for them apart from they scored 3 goals, because there was nothing else that really was good in the performance. It was really bad. A lot of people have compared it to the 7-1 loss to Colchester in 2009, which is almost a little bit fitting because it's the first time Norwich have conceded, what was it? I think it's conceded 5 in a home league match below the Premier League since that Colchester loss. So if it's that bad, then what on earth are Norwich going to do with themselves? This summer window genuinely could be one of the biggest the club has had in recent years, because they need to sort a lot of things out. Defensively, they need to be sorted out. I think it's now 62 goals conceded in the league. That is criminal. Absolutely criminal for a team who have aspirations in a 3-year project to be a Premier League side. You are going to get nowhere near the Premier League if you concede 60 goals. Hell, even if you concede 50 goals, you barely stand a chance of being right up there in the fight for promotion, because you have to score pretty much 2 or 3 goals a game if you're conceding 60 in a 46 game season to have a genuine chance of being a fighting side in the division. But no, they defensively need sorting out, because they were the main culprits if you just didn't look like they wanted to be there. There's only so many times, I guess, you can see the ball hit the back of your own net and want to keep going. It's a very probably demoralizing thing to have to put up with. But no, and then you look at the players who are probably going to leave, and Saints and Sargent. That's 30 goals in the Championship gone. That's half of Norwich City's goals scored this season gone. If they do not find apt replacements, Norwich are going to be in big trouble. If they continue the way they are currently in these recent performances, especially today, Norwich will be in huge trouble. And the doubts over Torup, today they have gotten much, much bigger, massively. All I've seen on social media is opinions of Torup is no longer the right man for this football club. Now, I've made it clear throughout the entire season that Torup needs to be given a lot of time, and it's nearly the end of a season now, and Norwich they finished in a lower league position than last season. They have regressed in terms of arguably their performances, and of course their league table, their points tally, which is ultimately the biggest thing in how you measure success in terms of comparison to other years of where did you finish in the league, what was your points tally. But I still think that there is a lot of factors as to why it hasn't worked with Torup. Of course, there have been the injuries. There's been an irregular first team to start. There's then been the changes of formation and setups against different sides. It's not really been the same tactic on a regular basis. And even when Norwich have got nothing to play for, were they really, with the way they play today, is that the way they intend? Is that what they want to show? That is the way they want to play, and how they're going to play over the next however many months under Torup, whether it be long or short? Because if they are, they're in major, major trouble. Major trouble. But no, I still think that Torup is going to be given time in this project, because that's what it is all about. It's about patience, and Norwich signing all these young players again is patience, and they can be good in the future. And if they're good now, that's even better. But patience is running thin, and there's a few factors for myself where my patience is starting to run a little bit thinner. But no, that's ultimately it. Norwich go down in a really, really just shocking manner at Carrow Road. They have shipped 5 to Portsmouth. They've lost by 5 goals to 3. What did you make of it? Let me know in the comments below, or your thoughts, and what you if you were at the game, how long did you stay? Did you bother the whole 90 minutes? Did you maybe leave early? But no, it's a real low point, this. And a lot of people have said it. Rob Butler has said it. Chris Reeve has said it. Connor Southwell, Sam Seaman, they have said it. This is a real low point under Torup. And they say things have to get worse before they get better. If they're going to get worse than this, Norwich are in major, major trouble for the rest of the season and maybe the start of next one. But as I say, let me know what you thought in the comments below. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you all next time for the next video of ours on the My Football Writer YouTube channel.